Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Mokhiber, and I'm here with Jill Shahen of Empire Charter Consultants. And Jill is now in her 27th year of chartering, which is over a quarter century of that work. And she is a veteran. Some people say she's a dinosaur, but I say that with love because she has a ton of historical information and context that not all of us have. And as Jill was entering her 27th year, some of her colleagues and friends from all over the country reached out with reflections and also some questions for Jill as she is in this stage of her career about the charter school movement and Jill, and some are a little bit off topic too. So today we're going to look at some of those questions, have Jill answer them, and she can tell us a little bit about how what the relationship is with the people that are asking them, and also stand by because soon Jill is going to be launching a new series where she looks at the state of the movement in New York, and we know that she doesn't hold back, so we're really looking forward to that.
It's good. It's good.
But Jill, I want to start with these. They're from Jason Mellon. So before I get to his questions, why don't you tell us who Jason is and how you guys know each other?
Jason Mellon is my work son, as opposed to my real son who works for me, I suppose. I met Jason when he was on the board of a school in Rochester, New York. And I don't know, like kind of a kindred spirit, super direct, very nice, like just a nice, humble human being who wanted to do right by kids. Uh, so got to know him pretty well while he was on that board. Like totally dysfunctional board. He was not dysfunctional. An example of that is I had to go and do a PD for that school on a Saturday, and like two people showed up, and he watched me lose my mind as I was packing all my stuff walking out the door. Like, when your board gets together, let me know and I'll come back. Then he went to work for a school, and then he decided to go to college to get his dissertation, and he chose me and then Andrea to be his coaches through his dissertation as he was getting his doctorate, meaning we had to like check in with the person he reported to on his dissertation. And so I got to do that for half a year. Uh, Genuinely the nicest guy in the entire world, very, very smart. And he'll call me. And then one day, a few weeks ago, I was like, wait, am I your work mom? And he's like, yes. So I'm his work mom.
That's
I'm
lovely.
very excited. He's just a very, 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 very nice person. Dr. Jason Mellon, everyone.
That's awesome. Well, here are his questions. His first one for you is a good one. Why do you think funders are so obsessed with replication instead of new ideas? And
See, I rub off on people, so
you've never heard these questions before, so
I've never heard this question. So I think if you sat our whole team in a room, all the Empire team, you would hear us all say the same thing, which is funders. I almost swore. I won't swear. So funders drove the movement. So you had funders who were only willing to fund in areas like New York City, totally forgetting like Rochester and Buffalo. They get less money. Syracuse, Utica, Albany. And funders directed this money towards high performing schools. And then more money came in when you replicated. So funders are, in essence, in my opinion, hedging their bets. We're going to give this school, look what this school did. They're growing, it's sustainable. We're going to fund the sure thing, overfunding innovation, which is what the charter school movement is about. I get so mad when I talk about funders. Listen, what I love a funder to drop a few $1 million on our laps because we actually know what's going on in the movement. Of course, funders don't do that. They are going to give to the sure thing. I have not heard of anybody saying to like Renaissance Arts in Rochester, hey, we're going to give you $2 million because you have an innovative model that incorporates arts and dance and music with your academic program. We're never going to see that. Nobody is doing it. So funders, it appears, and if I'm wrong, somebody can let me know, it appears they're hedging their bets. People want the pretty shiny thing that's proven themselves over time and not the new thing where there's a lot of uncertainty. And I will tell you, it has definitely hurt the movement. Even in New York City, independent schools who haven't gotten any type of grants, they struggle. They're not bringing in the same type of money replication schools are bringing in. And so, and we're writing about this. I'm writing about this in my series. So I love Jason. I've had this conversation with Jason, actually. Funders aren't going to fund the unknown. I get it. They have to answer to somebody too. They're answering to their board. But the reality is, I can look at Charter School Growth Fund and see all the good they've done, but equally, have they funded replications for schools that absolutely should not have replicated? An example is there was a group in California who wanted to replicate in another state in a city that is about 80% English as a second language, a lot of like huge immigrant population. And I said, hey, that's great, except for you don't have an English language learner program in your current school. How in the world do you think you're going to take this model and drop it in? And the school never opened because that model didn't exist, but they got charter school growth fund money. So it's things like that. They're going to replicate what's pretty, what they believe is a sure bet, because the school is good. Well, I would tell you it's not a good school. The school did well for the area it's in, which shouldn't be the guide because simply being better than a failing district means you're still a failing school unless your scores are super high. So that is why funders, in my opinion, we're going to fund the pretty shiny thing that's going to make the newspapers, except for Mackenzie Scott, who just randomly drops some money on everyone. God bless that woman.
Yeah, hero. Awesome answer, Jill. This next one is very interesting. Where do you think AI fits into the next generation of charter schools? Could there be schools that are effectively run by AI models?
So we AI is a part of our lives. Even when I'm typing an email, right? Like our Google comes up with like, do you want to use Gemini? I'm like, no, I don't effing want to use Gemini. Like I know how to type a sentence. I don't need your help. Yes, I actually want to write, this is stupid. Like not, you should rethink it. So, so I have two minds. There are schools that want to use AI to address learning loss. I don't think I know enough about it to speak clearly to it. I am less inclined to let students use AI. I feel you're supposed to be teaching students, and students should be learning. I guess I'm uncomfortable with AI. I don't think it's my age. Like I see the benefits of it. I can actually take, if somebody hands me a 70-page document and I'm like, hey, can I have an opinion on this in 10 minutes? I have to run it through AI to get the summary of it. So I can see the value of it. I do think schools will use it more. I just don't know how they're going to use it. I'm not sure if you know this, Jess. We refuse to use AI in writing applications,
Oh,
right? If we can't clearly articulate what this school wants to do, or this group of people wants to do without using AI, we shouldn't be writers and they shouldn't be applying. It's actually that simple. But we have had applicant teams talk about using AI for professional development, for remediation for students. I think time will tell if this is going to help or hurt us. But I do think as a movement as a whole, we need to pay very close attention to how it's being used. I do see it, I do see it as a tool for people to write an application because as you know, people will say, I want to do this. And so now they can just dump all their thoughts and have somebody else create that document. I have very mixed emotions on it. We do not use it. So if anybody wants to work with us, we don't use it. We actually believe you should be able to figure out how to type an application. I see schools using it more for remediation and professional development, but I think in the next 5 years, we're going to see if it helps or hurts.
I know this question, I can't even imagine what we'll be asking even in 2 years' time, but I
But
like,
what is that saying also? Like you can just go here. You don't have to read this book. You can just download the book and then run it through AI, and it's going to tell you everything you need to know about the book. Like,
as a
where's
reader,
the joy in it?
so sad. And I am very biased about AI, but like we need children and adults also to be able to have the
Yes,
attention span and brain power to read a book.
correct.
Know that this question is not for me, but I agree with
So
you.
I am anti-AI, and I think for all the right reasons. I think if we start giving people an out to actually reading or understanding something, when I read a book, and by the way, we're all reading that book together right now. I can't wait to talk about it. It's a very disturbing book, and it's true. I When you read something, you understand it, your brain digests it differently. And then there's also nuances, like you can read The Great Gatsby and run it through AI, but are you really going to understand the symbolism in it? And you can only get that from actually reading it. So I am worried, and I hope to be retired by the time the AI test blows up in everyone's face.
Yeah, well, to be continued on that conversation, I'm sure.
I
Okay.
hope that answers it, Jason.
The third question and last question from Jason Mellon is: how could the sector hold multi-state CMOs accountable when local authorizers only have limited authority?
Read that again.
How could the sector hold multi-state CMOs accountable when local authorizers only have limited authority?
You can't. So that is a huge question. If you are a CMO and you are in a state and you go, let's say you're in New York and you say, I want to replicate, but your home office, all your big portfolios of school might be in like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Like, let's say that. What happens when you go, oh, Arizona is the Wild West, or California, we're going to open a school there. Well, we haven't determined if your model will work in another state. That hasn't been determined. What's allowable? So the biggest thing I can tell you that I have seen is CMOs that start replicating in other states. One, they're normally not super high performers. I would tell you, like, Success coming to Florida is probably the biggest, right? Like, they're going to be able to carry the model, they're going to implement their model with fidelity. Other CMOs that have moved, there's no fidelity in their model and they're changing it. So, yes, supplemental materials might be the same. There is no way to hold them accountable. So, more and more authorizers, if you are in multiple states, they're asking you for the data from those states. It's great, right? Like, we're going to look at the data. I would tell you it really doesn't make a difference because if your proposal's strong and you have enough support, an authorizer in a state is going to say you were able to open this school, you're better than the district you're in, you're close to state standards, we're going to replicate. Most of the schools I know that have either left a state or dropped the CMO are schools that replicated in other states and found it far more difficult to keep those schools afloat with the same model from their original state. So New York, not the Wild West of chartering, as a matter of fact, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of crap. So if you're a New York school and you want to replicate in another state far away, who's paying attention to that? Who's the person going back and forth and saying you're not implementing this model with fidelity? Here's what it looks like in New York. And also, a lot of these schools are saying, well, we have a pipeline. These CMO schools said, we build a pipeline. So somebody in our school is going to go run this school. Parents aren't the same, district isn't the same, authorizer's not the same, supplemental materials are not the same. And even though you can tell an applicant team this, they don't listen. There is no way. It is up to any authorizer to continue to collect data from a CMO to ensure they're successful in every state that they are in. And by the way, the funding question, the group that was applying in one state to open in another state, their model wasn't going to work in the replication state. I can tell that just by reading their application. You're not even mentioning English language learners right now. And this entire city is 80% English language learners. So why aren't you speaking about that now? The only way is to have an authorizer who actually considers where the first school is located, the quality of the authorizer, which is huge, and then how that authorizer might align with your practices. But otherwise, there is no real way unless authorizers say, hey, look, we looked at your other state's data. Yeah, you're better than the district, but your scores are far below the state average. Apply to us when you get your scores up. But they're unwilling to do that because there's also a competition to charter schools. So I would say there's no easy way to do it. It would have to be authorizer consistency. And the National Association for Charter School Authorizers should absolutely be doing something with that.
Okay, great.
They're
Thank you.
not. They'll say they are, but they're not. But okay. Okay, that's my answer. Yay!
Jill. And thank you so much to Jason Mellon for those really incredibly thoughtful questions. And thank you to Jill for her answers. We are going to wrap this up, but stay tuned for the next episode because we have more questions from more colleagues and friends, and we'll be happy to bring those to you soon.
Okay.